Good morning, one and all. My name is Dr. D.V. Manjuratha, working as a senior professor in the Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering in Alvas Institute of Engineering and Technology, Moodbidre. Let us recall what we did in the last week. So, we started with BJT biasing. We defined BJT biasing in the first session, and then we worked on DC load line concept. Then operating point we fixed at the center of the active region for getting faithful amplification. Then we moved on to problems on operating point and DC load line. Then we moved on to the biasing techniques, which are BJT biasing techniques, fixed bias or the base bias technique. We discussed in detail the fixed bias and base bias technique. Then we moved on to the BJT biasing using voltage divider biasing. In voltage divider biasing, there are two analysis methods. One is approximate analysis method. We discussed there in the approximate analysis method, we approximate the emitter current is approximately equal to the collector current IC. We neglect IB. IB is taken as 0, and one of the approximation here is that IB, when IB is less than the voltage divider bias network current I2, then we can go for approximate analysis. Also, we have taken a base voltage VB, which is to be taken as constant, which is given by, we applied a very important and simple formula for finding out VB of a voltage divider bias network. So, VB is given by applied voltage into grounded resistor divided by sum of resistors. By using that formula, we arrived at what is VB. VB is equal to VCC R2 by R1 plus R2. We obtained that, and if we see that equation, we got it as a constant. So, in the approximate analysis, beta will not be given or HFE will not be given. If the beta or HFE is not given, then we can go for approximate analysis. Suppose in the problem, if beta is given, then we can go for accurate analysis or the precise analysis of voltage divider bias technique, which also we studied. By applying Thevenin's theorem, we have to reduce the voltage divider network into its equivalent circuit, and we need to find out Thevenin's equivalent voltage VTH, which is given by VCC R2 by R1 plus R2. That is equation 1 we discussed already in the last class. And the RTH, Thevenin's equivalent resistance, was given by RTH is equal to R1 R2 divided by R1 plus R2. That is a parallel combination of R1 and R2. By applying Thevenin's theorem, we reduced the circuit and we applied KVL for the base emitter loop. We found out what is IB. For finding out IB, we first took IE is equal to IB plus IC, and IC can be written as beta times IB. Then IE in terms of IB can be written as 1 plus beta times IB, and we substituted that in the KVL equation of base emitter loop. We got IB, expression for IB. Once we got expression for IB, we found out IC is equal to beta into IB. By using that formula, we found out IC. Then once we find out IC and IB, we can easily find out IE. IE is given by IE is equal to IB plus IC. Then we applied KVL for the output loop to find out VCE. So, once we get IC and VCE, we fix the operating point as Q is equal to, it is an ordered pair of IC and VCE. So, that we have done yesterday in the last class. Also, we have taken one problem on voltage divider bias, that is this problem. Determine the Q point for the following voltage divider network with beta is equal to 50. VCC is given to be 10 volts, RC was given to be 3K, R1 18K, R2 4.7K, RE is equal to 1.1K. So, this is the Thevenin's equivalent circuit we wrote, and equations 1, 2, VTH and RTH, we found out the values and we substituted in the input loop KVL. We applied KVL for the input loop and we got some values, and we substituted VTH and RTH into that equation. We found out IB, which is to be obtained as 22.89 microamps. IC is equal to, we got it as 1.144 milliamps, and IE was found to be 1.168 milliamps. Then applying KVL to the output loop, we got VC is equal to VCC minus ICRC minus IERE, which is found to be, for this problem, VC is equal to 7.852 volts. So, the Q point for that problem was found to be Q is equal to IC VCE, which is equal to 1.144 milliamps, 7.852 volts. So, we stopped at that stage in the last class. Now, let us discuss some more problems on voltage divider bias technique. So, in this problem, we are giving 3 different values of HFE, that is HFE is equal to 100, HFE is equal to 50, HFE is equal to 200. So, what we, just like base bias technique, what we studied there, we, for different values of HFE, we found out the operating point and we fixed the operating point for all these 3 HFE values. When we move from HFE value minimum to maximum, what is the operating point? We studied in base bias or fixed bias. But after studying that, the inference out of that in fixed bias or the base bias was that the operating point is uncertain in fixed bias or the base bias. Therefore, the fixed bias or the base bias was not useful for getting the faithful amplification. So, we in the similar line, we also discuss on the voltage divider bias by varying the HFE from minimum value to maximum value. Let us study the operating point variations. If the variation is very small, therefore, if the variation is very small, then we can use that as a efficient biasing technique for getting the faithful amplification. Let us see for voltage divider bias, if we vary HFE values from minimum to maximum, what happens to the operating point. That analysis can be done through this problem. So, the problem of voltage divider bias is accurately analyze, this is precisely we need to analyze. So, we need to use the Thevenin's equivalent circuit, all those. Let us see. Accurately analyze the voltage divider bias circuit and determine IC, VC, VE when the transistor HFE is equal to 100. Also repeat the analysis for HFE equal to 50 and HFE equal to 200. The data given are VCC is 18 volts, RC is equal to 1.2 kilo ohms, R1 is equal to 33 kilo ohms, R2 is equal to 12 kilo ohms, and RE is given to be 1 kilo ohm. So, problem on voltage divider bias for HFE is equal to 100. For HFE is equal to 100, we need to first find out what is VTH, which is given by VCC R2 by R1 plus R2. So, VTH is equal to 18 volts into 12K for this problem divided by 33K plus 12K. So, which is found to be VTH is equal to 4.8 volts. So, that is here VTH is equal to 4.8 volts. Similarly, we need to find out RTH is equal to, is given by R1 R2 divided by R1 plus R2. This we have obtained by applying Thevenin's theorem for the voltage divider bias circuit, which we have already discussed. Let us use the formula R1 R2 by R1 plus R2. It is 33K into 12K divided by 33K plus 12K, which is found to be RTH is equal to 8.8 kilo ohms. Then by applying KVL to the input loop, we get IB is equal to VTH minus VBE by RTH plus RE into 1 plus HFE. So, let us substitute all the values of the given problem, that is 4.8 volts is VTH minus 0.7 is VBE divided by RTH is found to be 8.8 K plus 1 K, it is RE is given to be 1 K into 1 plus HFE. HFE here in this problem first case is 100, therefore 1 plus 100. So, when we calculate, all of you have to calculate by using the calculator all this. You have to practice this type of problems. When in the exam if it comes, you can easily solve the problem. So, IB is found to be 37.37 microamps. Now, let us find out IC. IC is given by, we know that HFE into IB. HFE or beta both are same, beta into IB or HFE into IB, which is 100. HFE is 100 in this first case, and IB is found to be 37.3 microamps. Therefore, IC we obtain it as 3.73 milliamps. Next. Similarly, we need to find out IE. What is IE? IE is equal to IB plus IC. For this problem, IE is found to be IB plus IC, which is 37.3 microamps plus 3.7 milliamps, which is found to be 3.77 milliamps. Now, what is VE, which is asked in the problem? So, VE is given by IE into RE, IE into RE, therefore, IE is 3.77 milliamps into 1K, which is 3.77 volts. Then VC, what is collector voltage, which is given by VCC minus ICRC, VCC minus ICRC, 18 volts minus 3.73 milliamps into 1.2 kilo ohms. Therefore, it is found to be 13.52 volts. So, what is VCE? Applying KVL to the output loop, or we get VCE is as VC minus VE. Even we can use this formula also, VC minus VE is VCE. Therefore, VCE is found to be 13.52 volts minus 3.77 volts, which is found to be 9.75 volts. So, VCE for this problem is 9.75 volts. Similarly, for HFE and HFE equal to 50 and HFE equal to 200, we need to calculate all these values, and then after calculating all these values, we need to compare the operating points. So, let us see that. Similarly, for HFE equal to 50 and HFE equal to 200, calculate the values of all these above values for which are given below. But you have to calculate all these values by using the calculator. Next, similarly, for HFE is equal to 50, IB is found to be 60, IB is found to be for HFE is equal to 50, IB is found to be 68.6 microamps, IC is 3.43 milliamps, IE is equal to 3.5 milliamps, VE is equal to 3.5 volts, and VC is found to be 13.9 volts. Then VCE is equal to VC minus VE, which is 13.9 volts minus 3.5, which is found to be 10.4 volts. And similarly, for HFE equal to 200, we need to find out all these values. IB is found to be for HFE is equal to 200, which is 19.5 microamps, and IC is equal to 3.9 milliamps, and IE is equal to 3.92 milliamps. Similarly, VE is found to be 3.92 volts, and VC is equal to VCC minus RC, which is found to be 13.3 volts, and VC is equal to VC minus VE, which is found to be 9.4 volts. Now, by considering the three operating points for different values of HFE, HFE is equal to 50, HFE equal to 100 and HFE equal to 200, we need to compare and get the stability of operating point. Let us see what is that analysis. Next. So, problem on voltage divider bias. For HFE is equal to 100, we got operating point as Q is equal to 3.73 milliamps, 9.75 volts. Similarly, for HFE equal to 50, we found out operating point as 3.43 milliamps, and the VCE was found to be 10.4 volts. So, the operating point for 50, HFE equal to 50 is found to be 3.43 milliamps, 10.4. Similarly, for 200, HFE equal to 200, the operating point was found to be 3.9 milliamps, 9.4 volts. If we see these three operating points, see the IC values for all these three operating points. It is 3.73 milliamps. Next, for 50, HFE equal to 50, 3.43 milliamps. For HFE equal to 200, it is 3.9 milliamps. It is 3 point, in the second digit it is keep on changing. That means what? IC is not varying much, we can observe here. Similarly, we can see the VCE points, VCE for the first value, that is HFE equal to 100, VCE was found to be 3.975 volts, and 9.75 volts, and operating point VCE for 50, HFE equal to 50 was found to be 10.4, and for HFE equal to 200, VCE was found to be 9.4 volts. If you can observe all these variations, a small variation is there in VCE as well as IC. That means what? Operating point is IC, VCE. So, when we observe, these values are varying very small, in a very small steps, when we vary HFE from smaller values to maximum value, that is minimum value to maximum value. Now, let us compare all these operating points by drawing the operating points on the output characteristics of the transistor. So, this diagram, let us see this diagram. If you can see this diagram, here you can see the operating points. The operating points here are very closer. We fixed the three operating points. One operating point is for HFE equal to 200, which is a HFE max, and another operating point is for HFE equal to 100, some medium value, and HFE operating point for HFE equal to 50. So, we fixed this is for HFE equal to 50, this for HFE equal to 100, and this operating point for HFE equal to 200. So, when we observe these output characteristics with operating points, we can come to one conclusion. So, what is that conclusion? Let us see. So, what is the inference when we vary the HFE values from minimum to maximum for voltage divider bias? The exactly same analysis we did for fixed bias also. After analyzing fixed bias, we came to know that operating point was uncertain in fixed bias or base bias. So, that is useless biasing technique. So, what is the inference for voltage divider bias technique here? Out of the above analysis, using different values of HFE, observing the figure 7, it is clear that the operating points are very closely situated near the center of the active region. That means what? That means the operating point is not uncertain in this particular case. Also, the operating points are very closer to the center of the active region. We all know that if we fix the operating point very closer to the center of the region or the center of the active region, we get the faithful amplification. So, after observing this figure, previous figure, we came to conclusion that the operating point is very closer to the center point of the active region. Even if we vary beta value or HFE value from minimum to maximum, the operating point will not vary much, therefore, we get the faithful amplification. The voltage divider bias circuit is nearly So, after seeing all this, we can come to one conclusion that the voltage divider bias circuit is nearly independent of HFE changes, Therefore, what is the stability? The operating point is relatively very stable compared to any other biasing techniques. Therefore, we get faithful amplification in the voltage divider biasing. Hence, this type of biasing is preferred in all the applications, and we can also say that this is a very practical and most commonly used biasing technique because of these advantages. So, voltage divider bias is effective biasing technique for getting the faithful amplification. So, with this we can complete this chapter. This chapter is completed. So, what we studied, let us recall just in 1 minute. So, we started with the transistor biasing definition, layman answer, and the proper answer, technical answer. It is the proper flow of zero signal collector current and proper maintenance of collector to emitter voltage. That definition is very important. You have to write that definition, which is a technical answer for what is transistor biasing. Then during the passage of the signal, then we studied the DC load line analysis. They may ask in the exam for 6 marks, explain DC load line concept. So, you have to clearly explain what we explained in the sessions. So, DC load line, what for DC load line is required? DC load line is required to fix the operating point of the transistor circuit for getting faithful amplification. That we studied, and then we moved on to different biasing techniques. Before that, we studied the problems of DC load line and the operating point. Then we moved on to different biasing techniques. There are 3 types of biasing techniques. They are fixed bias biasing technique or the base bias biasing technique. Next is collector to base bias technique, and last one is voltage divider biasing technique. Our syllabus was restricted to fixed bias and the voltage divider bias. Then next we studied voltage divider fixed bias circuit, and we proved that fixed bias or the base bias biasing technique is not useful for getting faithful amplification. Then we moved on to voltage divider biasing, wherein we studied the analysis of voltage divider biasing techniques by using 2 methods. One is approximate analysis method and the exact or the precise analysis method, and we studied the problems on both the techniques, and later we proved that voltage divider bias technique is efficient in terms of operating point when we vary the HFE value or beta values from minimum to maximum. So, when we vary the HFE values from minimum to maximum, even then the operating point is shifting to a shorter extent. That means that operating points were closely situated at the center of the active region, so that this is a effective biasing technique for getting the faithful amplification. So, we studied transistor biasing as in 3 sessions. Now, today let us start with introduction to operational amplifier. So, what is an operational amplifier is the question. So, before going to that, an operational amplifier is a most important and versatile analog device. It is available as an IC form. It is available in an IC form and has plenty of application in today's day-to-day life, right. So, what is the definition? Let us take the board, let us move to the board and explain. So, the operational amplifier the short form of operational amplifier is op-amp. So, we can consider just 3 points for defining an operational amplifier, 4 points, right. So, first point, operational amplifier is a very high gain. What is gain? Very high gain. Gain is given by output voltage to the input voltage. If we take the ratio of output voltage to the input voltage, of an operational amplifier, it gives us very high value of voltage gain. So, it is operational amplifier is defined as first point as very high gain. All of you please define in this manner only. Operational amplifier is a very high gain. Second point, direct coupled. We will see what is direct coupled. Direct coupled. Next, third point is a multi-stage differential amplifier. So the definition lies in these 4 points, that's all. There is no need to write paragraphs and paragraphs for definition. They may ask in the exam what is an operational amplifier, explain the ideal characteristics of operational amplifier, which is a very important question from the examination point of view, right. Operational amplifier can be defined as operational amplifier is a very high gain, direct coupled, multi-stage differential amplifier. Direct coupled multi-stage differential amplifier. You can remember these 4 points very easily, right. So, since operational amplifier is a multi-stage, there are so many stages in the operational amplifier. There are so many stages. We will see the block diagram of operational amplifier. That time you will come to know that this is the diagram. There are 4 stages in the differential operational amplifier. So, it is a multi-stage differential amplifier. All these first 2 stages are differential amplifiers. Next stage will be level shifter and buffer circuit, and the last stage will be the driver circuit or the output stage. So, when we see these multi-stage circuit, when we see this multi-stage circuit, there are no coupling elements. What is coupling element? From one stage to the another stage, if we use R resistor, then it is called as R coupling is used. If we use C, then it is called as capacitive coupling. If we use combination of R and C, then it is called as RC coupling is used. We have seen, we can see in the 3rd semester, if electronics related branches students are coming, then RC coupled amplifier they will see. That means from one stage to the another stage, RC elements are used. When we see the operational amplifier block diagram, no elements are used. Therefore, it is called as direct coupled. And it is designed, operational amplifier is designed to get very high gain. And since it is a multi-stage, and in between the stages, we have not used any elements like R, C, etc. Then that's why it is called as direct coupled. And since there are so many stages, it is called as multi-stage. And what is this? It is a differential amplifier, that's all. Operational amplifier is a differential amplifier. So, we can define operational amplifier as operational amplifier is a very high gain, direct coupled, multi-stage differential amplifier. This is the definition of an operational amplifier. So, coming to introduction to operational amplifier, next point. With 2 input terminals and 1 output terminal, we can see the block diagram here. There are 2 input terminals, and 1 output terminal. So, this is the output and these 2 are the inputs. So, operational amplifier is a very high gain, direct coupled, multi-stage differential amplifier with 2 input terminals and 1 output terminal. Next, as there is direct coupling between the different stages of the op amp, there are no coupling elements. We can say that whenever there are no coupling elements, such circuits can amplify both AC signals as well as DC signals. So, that is the next point. So, up to this point you can define operational amplifier definition. You can write it as clear and precise definition is this one. Operational amplifier is a very high gain, direct coupled, multi-stage differential amplifier with 2 input terminals and 1 output terminal, comma, as there is a direct coupling between the different stages of the op amp, it can amplify both AC as well as DC signals. So, this is the very good definition of operational amplifier. Please all of you remember these 3 points, which is very easy, and you can easily get 2 marks if they ask what is operational amplifier. Definite question they may ask in the exam, right. So, please remember this definition. So, what is the symbol of an operational amplifier? The symbol of an operational amplifier is a triangle that points in the direction of signal flow, So, we can consider this entire block diagram can be represented as a triangle. So, 2 inputs will be there and 1 output will be there. So, the triangle is used to represent the operational amplifier. In all circuits, we will be using the triangle, which is as shown in the PPT. So, we can see here the symbol of an op amp is a triangle that points. So, the point is here, that is pointing here. The signal is flowing from this end to this end. So, that is the reason why it is called as, it is a symbol of an operational amplifier is a triangle that points in the direction of the signal flow. Here 5 points, 5 things with respect to op amp is very important. One is the positive terminal of the op amp, which is also called as non-inverting input terminal. There is another terminal which is a negative terminal which is also called as inverting input terminal. What drives this op amp? What drives this operational amplifier? Just like biasing, we need to bias just like transistor biasing, we need to bias the op amp. How do we bias the op amp? There are 2 supplies required for biasing the op amp. One is positive power supply, which is shown here, and the other one is negative power supply. So, and where we take the output, the pointing end of the triangle, we take the output. So, the 5 important points with respect to this operational amplifier are non-inverting input terminal or the positive input terminal, inverting input terminal or the negative input terminal, and the output, the output, and what drives this biasing circuit, what drives this operational amplifier. The driving force is given by the positive supply as well as the negative supply. So, the what is the symbol of an op amp? The symbol of an op amp is a triangle that points in the signal flow, Here 5 important terminologies are positive terminal, negative terminal, and positive supply, negative supply, and finally the output. Now, let us move on to why this is called as operational amplifier. Why they have given the name operational amplifier? Let us answer this, right. Why the name op amp? Earlier days, in olden days, the op amp was used to perform some mathematical applications such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, etc., differentiation, etc. on signals. People earlier, they were using this operational amplifier circuit for finding out the addition of 2 signals, subtraction of 2 signals, multiplication of signals, differentiation of signals. And because of that reason, they have given the name operational amplifier, because it does some operation on signals, mathematical operation on signals, hence they have given the name operational amplifier. Only the op amp is used to perform mathematical operations such as addition to differentiation, integration, etc. Earlier they were using only for these applications. Nowadays there are plenty of applications of operational amplifier. Some of examples today people are using operational amplifier are, the op amp today has plenty of applications such as wave shaping, then analog to digital converters or digital to analog converters back, the filters, filter circuits, oscillators, comparators, etc. All these circuits are useful in communication systems. So, communication system is not a simple circuit or the simple system. It has plenty of communication applications, and in all those applications, one way or the other, operational amplifier is been useful. So, operational amplifier is not restricted to perform mathematical operations alone. Today, the op amp can be used in so many applications of communication, right. So, with this, the op amp is available as an integrated circuit, I told. So, the op amp is available as an integrated circuit. It is an IC. So, most commonly used op amp ICs are MU-A741, you can see here, MU-A741, LM311, LM324, etc. So, out of these ICs, most commonly and commercially used IC is MU-A741. The most common and commercially available op amp is MU-A741, which may cost around 2 rupees. So, with the 2 rupees we can play with op amps like anything. So, that is the reason why it is most common and commercially available operational amplifier. So, what is MU-A741? Our syllabus is restricted to MU-A741 only. Let us take the MU-A741 in detail. So, MU-A741 is an 8-pin operational amplifier IC. It is an 8-pin operational amplifier IC. You can see here I have shown one IC, 4 pins on one side, another 4 pins on the other side. So, 4 plus 4, 8 pins are there. So, it is an 8-pin MU-A741 op amp is an 8-pin operational amplifier IC, and which consists of you can see here 24 transistors. The moment we say amplifier, operational amplifier, the moment we say amplifier has come there, automatically transistors will come into picture, and some biasing resistors and capacitor comes into picture. So, when we see the MU-A741 op amp internal circuit, we can count 24 transistors, 11 resistors and 1 capacitor in its equivalent circuit, right. So, 24 transistors, 11 resistors and 1 capacitor is used in the MU-A741 operational amplifier. Now, coming to pin configuration. So, whenever we come across integrated circuit, we must know what is the pin configuration of the IC integrated circuit. When we come to pin configuration of MU-A741 op amp IC, so it looks like this. It looks like this. Let me use the board and write the pin details. So, the IC looks like this. I told you there are 4 plus 4, 8 pins. Let me write this. This is MU-A741. 4 pins this side and 4 pins that side. So, we can write pin number 1, pin number 2, pin number 3, pin number 4, 5, 6, 7 and then 8. So, these are the pin details of a op amp. What is pin number 1? Pin number 1 is called as offset null pin. Offset null. We will see what is the function of pin number 1, and similarly pin number 5 is also called as offset null. Offset null. Pin number 1 and 5 are called as offset null pins. Pin number 2 is negative input terminal or the inverting input terminal. Inverting input. So, the positive terminal of a operational amplifier is represented by pin number 3. So, pin number 3 is non-inverting input. Pin number 4 is negative supply, power supply. I told you 2 power supplies are used. One is positive supply, the other one is negative supply. Pin number 4 represents negative supply. That means what? We need to bias this circuit by using pin number 4. Pin number 4 we need to give negative supply of the battery. Similarly, pin number 7 is the positive supply, positive power supply we can say, positive power supply. Pin number 6, at pin number 6 we take the output, so it is a output pin. And pin number 8, it is a dummy pin, or it is said to have no connection with the internal circuitry. Because why we used pin number 8, you may ask. So in order to give this side 4 pins are there, this side 3 pins are there, means the circuit may not be properly visible. To give the shape to the IC, we have used one extra pin that is not connected to the internal circuitry of the circuit. Therefore, it is said to have no connection, no connection. That means it is just a dummy pin which is used to give the definite shape to the device or the IC. So this is the pin details. You need not remember these pin details. The symbol will be useful in all the circuit applications, but this is an extra information which we are giving here. So here also I have given the same diagram. So here pin number 1 is offset null, pin number 5 is also offset null, pin number 2 inverting input terminal, negative terminal, pin number 3 non-inverting input terminal which is a positive terminal, pin number 4 it is written as power, it is a negative power supply, pin number 7 is positive power supply, and pin number 6 is the output point where we take the output, and pin number 8 is said to have not connected or no connection, which is only used for giving a definite shape to the IC. So these are the pin details. What is offset null? I told you I will define that later. See, in the operational amplifier it will be so happening when we don't give any input signals at positive terminal and negative terminal. Even then, because of the transistor action, because transistors are temperature dependent, because of those temperature dependency, there may be some output voltage available. It is a wondering, it is like magic. So when we not give any input signals, even then there will be output voltage which is called as offset voltage. So before using this device, in order to avoid erroneous results, we need to reduce this to 0 volts. To reduce this to 0 volts, what we do? We use pin numbers 1 and 5 to reduce the offset voltage to the null value or 0 value. So that is the reason why it is called as offset null pin, offset null pins. So 1 and 5 are offset null pins used to reduce offset voltage to 0. Pin number 2 is the inverting input terminal. What is the function of inverting input terminal? You apply any input signal at inverting input terminal with respect to ground, which appears to be amplified and inverted, amplified but inverted at the output, amplified but inverted at the output. Inverting input terminal, when any input signal is given to this pin, it gets amplified and at the output, but it gets inverted. Similarly, what is pin number 3? Pin number 3 is a non-inverting input terminal. The name itself tells you non-inverting. It don't inverts the signal, right? So is the non-inverting input terminal. Any input which is given to this pin appears to be amplified but not inverted at the output. Next. Pin number 4 is the negative supply. Why we have to use negative supply and positive supply? As you all know that we are using 24 transistors in the operational amplifier. 24 transistor. The moment transistors, see the name of the operational amplifier. What is operational amplifier? It is a amplifier. Operational amplifier. The name amplifier comes into picture there. When amplifier comes into picture, we will be using transistor amplifiers. And as you all know that we have already studied biasing. In order to bias the transistor, we need to operate the transistor in the center of the active region, in order to get the faithful amplification. So, how do we achieve the active region of operation? By using pin number 4 and pin number 7, all 24 transistors will be operated in the active region of operation. How do we do that? So, pin number 4 is used. Pin number 4 is the negative supply which is used to forward bias, emitter base junctions of all 24 transistors which are used in the equivalent circuit of the operational amplifier. So, emitter base junction is taken care by the negative supply. All emitter base junctions of all 24 transistors must be forward biased, and all collector base junctions of 24 transistors must be reverse biased. To do the collector base junctions of all 24 transistors reverse bias, we use positive supply. So, negative supply is used to forward bias emitter base junctions of all 24 transistors. The positive supply is used to reverse bias all collector base junctions of 24 transistors which are there in the equivalent circuit. This way we will take care of the operational we will take care of transistors which are to be operated in the active region. Those all 24 transistors can be operated in the active region by using pin number 4 and pin number 7, that is negative supply and the positive supply. Next, pin number 6 is the output terminal, using which the output is taken for any circuit, right. So, and as I told you, pin number 8 is said to have no connection. It is used to give definite shape to the IC. So, before going to ideal characteristics of a op amp, characteristics of an ideal op amp. So, we have studied what we studied today. Today we studied what is an operational amplifier. We completed the voltage divider biasing for different values of HFE. We came to conclusion that voltage divider biasing has stability in the operating point by even though we vary HFE values, that we discussed. Then introduction to operational amplifier, the definition of an operational amplifier. The definition of an operational amplifier is that it is a very high gain direct coupled multi-stage differential amplifier. Between it has 2 input terminals and 1 output terminal. Since there is no coupling between different stages of the operational amplifier, it can be used for amplifying both AC as well as DC signals. Then we defined BJT operational amplifier. Then we moved on to pin details, applications. Then we told that why the name operational amplifier, because in olden days people were using operational amplifier for performing mathematical operations on signals. Therefore, they gave the name operational amplifier. And then after that we have seen that operational amplifier is available as integrated circuit. There are 3 integrated circuits which are available as op amp. They are MUA741, LM111 and LM324. These are the 3 available ICs of operational amplifiers. Then most commonly and most commercially available operational amplifier is MUA741, which is commercially available, which is very cheap, maybe of the order of 2 to 3 rupees. You can get an operational amplifier IC, and by using which we can rig any circuit and we can get the applications of operational amplifier. Not only applications are restricted to only mathematical operations, they are also used in so many circuits of communication. They are filters, analog to digital converters, comparators, etc., wave shaping circuits, etc. So, because of these reasons, the operational amplifiers in our day-to-day life will be using these operational amplifiers in all applications, we can say, almost all applications. So, with this ideal characteristics we need to jump on. So, what are the characteristics of ideal op amp? Very important thing here is there is a practical op amp, there is an ideal op amp. Ideal op amp means it will meet the infinite values and zero values. When we take the voltage gain, open loop voltage gain, we have open loop voltage gain as infinity in case of ideal op amp, infinity. We do not know what is infinity, it is a ideal value. So, this is one of the ideal characteristic. Then the next characteristic is input impedance or the resistance is infinity. We do not know the infinity values, we can say only infinity is nothing but very large value, right. Then the output impedance is 0, the bandwidth is infinity, the common mode rejection ratio is infinity. We will consider all these points in the next session, and I think now the time is getting over. We will stop at this stage, and thank you very much for listening to this class. Thank you.